Um, so let's do this. Let's do this Trump before we head out. Let's do this quick Trump story, just because we were talking about this before you came on, Joshua. That you know, obviously, right now we're doing a lot of political struggle with like the Democratic Party. We were just talking about what's going on in New York State, for example, with them essentially canceling the primary. Um, but that, as Matt said earlier, is like just because the Democrats are so bad at their job of opposing Donald Trump, that we shouldn't not pick up the slack, because this person is like a kind of, I mean, fundamentally he's a fascist, and it's a very dangerous and frightening person. And we shouldn't sleep on Donald Trump just because we're focused right now on dealing with the Democrats. So I just wanted to play this quick video of Donald Trump earlier. I don't know if it was this week, basically talking about using funding to, people need federal funding right now because everyone's on lockdown, and him trying to use that as a negotiating tactic to wage war on immigrants and undocumented workers in this country. So this is this clip of Donald Trump saying that he's going to make federal funding contingent on ending sanctuary city laws.
It's actually Secretary Mnuchin as well. What about the idea of another round of stimulus payments to American taxpayers directly? Democrats, of course, up on the Hill are talking about the idea of a guaranteed income, which obviously could go on for months and months and months.
Yeah.
What about another round of
Well, I like the idea of payroll tax cuts. I've liked that from the beginning. That was a thing that I really would love to see happen. A lot of economists would agree with me. A lot of people agree with me. And I think, frankly, it's simple. It's not the big distribution, and it would really be an incentive for people to come back to work and for employers to hire. The double tax on the company and also on the person. That's what I like, and something like that could happen. Also, I think you have to look, because a lot of people are talking to, I assume your next question would be about states. And Steve and I talk about it, and I talk about it with Mitch and with Kevin and with everybody. And the problem with the states is we're not looking to recover 25 years of bad management and to give them the money that they lost. That's unfair to other states. Now, if it's COVID related, I guess we can talk about it. But we'd want certain things also, including sanctuary city adjustments, because we have so many people in sanctuary cities, which I don't even think are popular, even by radical left folks, because what's happening is people are being protected that shouldn't be protected, and a lot of bad things are happening with sanctuary cities. But that's just standing up here answering this question. That's one of the things I think about. If we were going to do something for the states, I think they'd probably want something having to do with sanctuary cities, something having to do with other different points that we can discuss a little bit later on.
All right. Well, just, so we'll get to the sanctuary cities thing first, but I just wanted to add, first of all, Donald Trump's answer about the payroll taxes is such BS, right? Like, people need direct help, and who is he talking about helping out? That's employers, right? The people in this situation who are in the least need of help. And obviously small businesses are being really screwed over right now by the failure of the federal government to provide them with funds. But I'll tell you, the people who are working for the small business owners are the people who are in the most desperate need of help right now. But yeah, I mean, obviously tying any aid to cutting sanctuary city programs is ridiculous, but tee off.
It's amazing that he was it's like, it's not even popular on the left. It's like, if it wasn't popular, he wouldn't need to hold federal funding for a pandemic hostage in order to get it.
Exactly.
And
it's very popular across the country, from Texas to California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if we have it available, but this sort of messaging is gonna go hand in hand with the Republican response to what's happening at meatpacking plants.
Oh, yeah.
With those sorts of, and I think you're going to hear a lot of racism about those jobs. And I think we need to be prepared to have that conversation about what's exactly happening what kind of exploitation is happening at those meatpacking plants that's leading to these conditions. And, not let them say it's foreigners, basically.
Right.
Trump is ready to, everybody knows it's the meatpacking plants now. There's a number of states. That's becoming a thing, and Trump is going to try to use that as a build the wall type of thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those issues too where I hope not to undermine what I was saying earlier, but it's one of those issues where it's like, Tyson, for example, runs some of the most horrific operations. Not only what they're doing to the animals, and I'm a meat eater, by the way. Philosophically, I'm not taking a position. I'm not trying to be in contradiction with myself here, but those factories are horrific. Not only what they're doing to the animals, but what they're doing to the workers. The lack of safety standards, even when there isn't a pandemic, even a risk of transmission of something like COVID, just like protecting people from getting their limbs cut off. They're run on such like a tight ship that people are basically pushed to produce as much as possible in such a short amount of time that any kind of like reasonable safety measures are ignored. So to demand that these places are staying open without forcing them to provide the basic kind of safety measures that are needed to prevent further infection to the people, I mean, it is absolutely horrific. And I just hope that people on the liberal side, who are now thinking about this for the first time because it's like a Donald Trump issue, don't focus too much on the Trump aspect, that they actually miss the fact that like meat production in this country is a horribly exploitative industry always, right?
Yeah.
And we need to fundamentally shift that.
Yeah, it's interesting because Trump's initial point in that clip was saying like, oh, if we're going to rebuild, basically we have an opportunity to do it better, which is the case that you're making, which is that if the pandemic is revealing to many people all of the cracks in our system, and there is actually a real wisdom to saying, okay, let's actually incentivize the right things. Let's create the right new infrastructure. And then Trump does a 180, of course, and uses that to justify going after, the safety of immigrants. I mean, that's what's frustrating about it to me, especially, is that he'll pick something that has nothing to do with it. Then, meanwhile, when the Democrats push for inclusion of voting by mail in the stimulus bill, the Republicans say that it's being loaded up with goodies that have nothing to do with the crisis. And pointing out their hypocrisy is, of course, stale and boring, but it's just amazing how fluid it's become in the same breath.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. And obviously, a lot of the ways that we procure the commodities, the food, the things that we use on a daily basis are being called into question right now, because we're being asked this question constantly: what's safe and what isn't? And it's exposing a lot of the wickedness that exists in the American, supply chain. And we need to use this as a moment to organize around protecting people who are on the front lines and are in danger, basically, of contracting COVID, especially in a situation where they're not going to be provided with the medical care that's necessary to treat it. And at the same time, also be starting to make those long-term arguments that we need to fundamentally rethink a lot of things. A lot of the things that you think are normal, like they need to stop continuing in the same way that they've been going for a long time.
You just watched a Michael Brooks Show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.